This will be video number 7 on the odds and ends hit and miss. And today we're going to bore the cylinder and we're going to put the hole through here and fit the cylinder into it and silver braze it in there. So we're going to start off boring this. I've already drilled this out to save time. I just rough drilled it and I ran the boring bar through there once to get it smooth. So we'll do the finished boring and I'm going to talk a little bit about the diameter while we're doing that. So the plan in the book, if you're going by that, you can stick with those numbers, but I have to change the numbers a little bit because I've got to put the cylinder head bolts into this. So this here, I've got it, well, basically 1.5 inches in diameter, OD. But what I did is turned it down a tiny bit so I have a little ridge. So I started out with 1.5 inches. The length of it for this one is 3 3¼ inches. So if you make it 3 1/4 long, 1.5 inches in diameter. And this was a piece of 12L14. You can use almost anything for the cylinder. Of course you couldn't use aluminum because you can't silver braze it in there. But you could use cast iron if you're rich, or just a plain old piece of hot roll or cold roll steel, 1.5 inches in diameter. So I'm going to put this in here. We'll start boring it. You got to find number 1. This is where I had it in before. I hope I can get it to run pretty true. I'm putting it back in exactly the same place. That should run pretty true. Now this is called basically for a 1-inch bore. Now they're showing you 1-inch bore in the cylinder, a little smaller on the piston. But I would go a little bit smaller than that, and changing the bore size doesn't really mean anything, except you can use a piece of 1-inch aluminum to make your piston, and that's the only reason I'm making it smaller. So I'm going about 25 thousandths smaller on this bore. And you've got to have a little clearance on the piston, so the piston would be a little smaller. I probably only go 20 thousandths smaller on the bore. So we'll run the boring bar through there and see what the diameter is. So this boring bar I'm using is one that I made. I just took a lathe tool and sawed it off and put on the carbide part, silver brazed it on there, so I've got a nice stiff boring bar. Take a light cut going through there. Now another thing that I usually do on this is I put the vacuum cleaner on the other end of the thing. I'll show you that, but I can't do it now because Jim wouldn't be able to hear anything. What I have is this block held on with magnets, and I can just stick the vacuum cleaner in here and draw the chips out. There. So what that does is draws all the chips, and I'm only going to do that on the last pass because I don't really have to do it here. I can just suck it out as it builds up. Gets that through. Now we're just going to measure that. See how much we got to take out of it to get it to size. Got another 50 thousandths, so I'm going to take out 10. That'll take 20 out of the bore. sucks all the chips out of there so that it won't give me a rough finish. That's a nice finish. So I still got another 30 to go. Well, actually I don't. Maybe 20. I take out 5. That'll give me 10 on the bore. And see what kind of a finish I get. I wish I didn't have to though. I'm cutting out. What I did is I bored it in, checked the dimension, somewhere's near where I want it. So now I'm going to go in, and out again. And that will make sure that it's cutting all the way. Should give me a bore without any taper at all. So the bore feels really nice and smooth now. So that's it on that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take and bore out the hopper so that this will slide in there. So I got some bluing on there. We're going to mark the center. So to mark the center of this, what I'm going to do is put the base up there. I'm going to check the crankshaft here, which I know is 3/8. So I'm going to go 1, 87. So that should be the center. That should be the center of this. So the piston has to be lined up on center there. So this goes on this way. And there's the center right there. Now I'm going to mark it this way. I'm going to guess at the center is right about there. Okay, so I'm going to put a line and flip it over this way and put another line. And they crossed, where those two lines cross is the center. So that's just has to move that up and put a prick punch mark. That's it. Okay, I'm going to put this in the milling vise, and the hole I'm drilling through, I think, is smaller than that gap. I'm going to just check that. 1.5. Yeah, I'm going to have to raise this up just a little bit because I don't want to hit that. I'll go in the middle anyway, but I'm going to raise it up just a little bit. I don't want it to cut a hole in the vise. I just check that to make sure it's in the middle. In case I go too far, it won't go down and hit the vise. Okay, now before I put the boring bar in there, I'm going to get this centered and lock it down. Just going to get a dead center on that prick punch mark because it's not extremely critical. Just by eye. That's good. So I'm going to start off by drilling that. Then go to the boring bar when I get it as big as I dare. It's a spotting drill. So because I'm going to bore this, I don't have to worry about keeping it on center, because the boring bar will straighten out anything that happens. So I'm going to drill this out a little faster than I normally do. If you're not boring and you're going to ream it, you should step up a little slower with the drills, because they're not as likely to wander off if you step up slowly. But here, I'm going to bore it so it doesn't matter. This is 11/16. This is reaching the drilling capacity of this mill. What happens if I get beyond the capacity, just the belt slips. So it's not a problem, but I have to go to the boring bar. Let's see if it's going to go through there. This is a 7/8 drill, which is definitely over capacity for the drill. I think it was rated at 3/4. But like I said, it just makes the belt slip if it's over capacity. And now we're going to change over to the boring bar. I've got up to 7/8. I got to drill like 1 1/4 hole, so it'll just take a few minutes with the boring bar. I've already put the tool in there. So we're out to 1 inch 4/35. So we got to go about another 35 thousandths, and we got to go to 80. Okay, there's 70. There's 470. I think we got to go to 480. I'm just going to take a spring cut here. It only got 5 thousandths to go, so we'll try that. There's quite a bit of spring to this. You get more idea what to set it at. Yeah, it's 75, so I can go about 3 thousandths. Yeah, let's see if it'll fit in there. Yep, just about right for silver brazing. It's a little loose. Got a couple of thousandths clearance. That's perfect. Off all these burrs. Get the inside of this one. I can line that up there. And there it is. We just have to silver braze that in there, and that'll be it. So in soldering this in, obviously I want to make sure that I put the right part forward, which is here. And the second thing you want to make sure is you don't melt it so much that you get these seams. So what I usually do is put a clamp on it to hold it together. So if they do melt, it doesn't matter. So I'm going to do that. I'll probably do the back first. So let's check it out. You gotta have a piece across the top here. Let's see. A little strip of steel. You're gonna have to help me, I think. Okay. 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 Then we put that in there like that. Oh, I got to do the other side first before I put it in. Just got to do this. Make sure I put it in right. This is the front. Okay. I'm going to flip it over and put some goop on it here. So when it gets hot, it will melt in, hopefully. Okay. Okay, I'm going to cut some little pieces, as I usually do. Flatten them out and place them around there. This is so it doesn't roll off easy. That should be plenty. One there, one here. That should do it. So, I think we got it. Looks like it's all the way around there. To do a water test on it later, but that seemed to flow around there real nice. I got to cut some pieces and put them around there. I'm going to have to add a little here because it didn't flow in. Put over here too. Well, that'll be it. We'll have to wait till that cools down, and then I can hone the cylinder out. And next week we'll make the pistons and the piston and the rings. Thank you very much for watching. Give us a thumbs up if you liked what you saw, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much.